Y'all ready to get stupid? You ready to rock?
This is Metal Mike, and in this episode, Ryan and I talk through our top 10 favorite hair metal TV performances, from MTV award shows to New Year's Eve performances to the late night stuff, performances by LA Guns, Slaughter, Kiss, Poison, and many more. And if, hey, you like bands like that, you should check out my new book, A Hair Metal Journey. Buy it now on Amazon. But now, it's time to check out this killer episode. Well, Ryan, welcome to the Metalcast, brother. How are you?
I'm great. How are you?
I'm doing good, man. I'm excited about this one. We talked about it for a long time. It's top 10 hair metal TV performances. And if anybody, scours YouTube or looks over this stuff, there's a lot of it out there, and it's constantly surfacing. People are sourcing their old VHS onto YouTube, and it's a treasure trove. What do you think?
Yeah, very creative of you to come up with this one. And I've been hunting these videos over the years, and I think we talked about it. I used to order them off eBay back in the old days, and it would be VHS taped off of old Headbangers Ball and TV shows and talk shows and stuff like that. So YouTube came along, and it all came back. So it's really cool.
It's weird. When I watch it now, it kind of feels like a culture clash, or kind of like an alternate reality, because our metal guys were actually part of the mainstream for just that little window. You know what I mean? It's like you never would have thought you'd see today, if just trying to think of LA Guns or Firehouse or Slaughter being on regular mainstream cable and stuff. You wouldn't see it, But back in the day, it was just pretty much normal.
Totally. I thought the same thing. All these they showcase the pretty boy aspect of it a little bit too. And I'm like, oh, that's been a while.
Oh yeah. And part of it too, a lot of my list, and probably on yours too, it was the early 90s. So it was MTV was kind of not playing these guys as much. This was their last ditch effort to get a little exposure, getting on these late night TV shows. And the funny thing too is that it kind of shows a snapshot where, like we said, our metal heroes from back in the day were still kind of relevant. And I even think that late night TV was relevant, because I don't think it's really as relevant as it once was. I think when you watched Arsenio and all these things, that's how you found out what was cool. I just don't think late night TV has that kind of effect. I think, YouTube and stuff like that, that's where people go to find out what's going on. You know what I mean? Influencers that are out there.
Oh, yeah. I hear all about it. And you're right, it's the late 80s, early 90s, but mostly early 90s. I think the only one I have the oldest one I have on the list, I think, is 87. Everything else is 88 to 91. So It was a cool little phase, though. I like it.
And I feel so now, for anybody out there, if they haven't researched this very much, we've done all your homework for you. We're going to go through the top 10. You're not even going to believe some of these clips even exist. And then I got a bunch of honorable mentions. I'm sure you do too, man. And too, another thing, if you follow the Metalcast on Twitter, I've been digging up these for years and posting them on there too. So this is something that I've always just found fun, found interesting, and I think it's going to be a good conversation. And here's the only thing I want to ask you about. So when you go through these things, some of them are completely live, right? Some of them are lip synced to just a track, Some of them are it's a track, but it doesn't have the vocal. So the vocal is the only live thing. What kind of ones did you go for? I'm going to be honest, I did all the ones that were just completely live. What about you?
Yeah, that was kind of in my rating system of 1 to 10, because there were, without giving it away, my number one impressed me so much with the live abilities that it had to be number one. And the number 10, you could tell that there was some tracks involved, but I'll explain why I also chose it as number 10. So I agree that I chose most of the live stuff. And as I was digging it up, full disclosure, I wanted to put some Europe on there, and I could not find any live Europe, and it was just different in Europe, where they recorded all these, or Scandinavia, most of them, and they were all lip synced. And I went, nope, not going to do those. So I'm right there with you.
Okay,
I did chose the same mostly thing. All live.
Well, okay, so your number 10 was the one you were questioning. So why don't you just tell us what that number 10 is?
Yeah, perfect. So I went with one of my favorite bands, but not one of my favorite songs by them, and it is Motley Crue doing the 1990 MTV Music Awards, and the song is "Don't Go Away, Mad, Just Go Away."
Yeah.
So, like I said, perfect time for the band. I wish that they had done Same Old Situation, because I feel like that would have been a little sleazier and more kick-ass. But I understand that they were trying to maybe appeal to a little bit more crossover with a acoustic, electric kind of chimey song. They were the quote-unquote sober machine at the time, and I actually think that this was early enough in the feel-good sober days that I think they were sober, and they looked lean and mean and handsome and ready to rock, and they sounded great. And I must say that Vince did a hell of a job on that song live then, and the rest of the boys were up to their antics. Nicky played really quality bass. Tommy was hitting the sticks on the side of the snare, and it'd fly up in the air, and he'd grab it just like he did in theater tour and all that stuff. But, I mean, it was just such a cool era for them. Like, if you remember that story about, like, Vince Neil saying, Magic Johnson asked me for my autograph. It's like they were so damn big at the time, you got a superstar asking for Vince's autograph. So, anyway, I kicked it off with Motley.
I love that one. It's on my list. It's higher.
Cool.
So
nice.
I'll talk about it more as we progress. But my number 10, this was a tough one. Like I said, I got a lot of honorables. I tried to just crunch it down to 10. But I thought this one was just so weird and just kind of like off the wall. I don't know. Maybe it's not that much off the wall, but I just find it kind of funny and cool.
This is LA Guns.
LA Guns, Kiss My Love Goodbye, man, on Arsenio Hall, 1991.
Very good.
And they sound great. I think they've got some, and I think what you were trying to get at, maybe you alluded to it, but you didn't really get into it, is that Motley's definitely got some piped in backups on Don't Go Away, Man. They do that all the time. And I think LA Guns has some piped in backgrounds as well for Kiss My Love Goodbye. They sound just too perfect. But I do give the other guys credit because I think they're singing along with it, like Mick and Kelly and stuff, and it sounds cool. I think Phil Lewis, like, he just looks cool. Like, he's got his hair, like the top of his hair kind of like pulled back, and he's got like an all jean jacket outfit. And Tracy Guns, man, this is where Tracy was starting to like kind of get away from the glam metal look. He looked like he could have been in Suicidal Tendencies. He had like short hair. He had the baseball cap with the thing flipped up. I think he also had a bandana on. He had the wife beater. So he was definitely straying from the whole glam look. But it just was cool to think, like, here's LA Guns on late night TV. And one thing I'm going to say, and it's going to come up over and over again in so many of the performances, I hate to say it, come from Arsenio Hall. I think Arsenio Hall was the gold standard for, like, the hair metal and the rock performance. He had all kinds of artists on, but, like, for us who like the rock, it was like the gold standard. And it's not just because of who he had. It's the way, like, I think the sound quality is best on those. And it always felt like a concert, you know what I mean? Like, the light show was always cool. The stage setup was pretty awesome. So I got to give the Arsenio Hall show, man, like, everybody credit, because I thought those were some of the best out of any of the ones that are out there. So, yeah, Kiss My Love Goodbye. It's just cool, and it's interesting to see, like, it's just all about to end, and the image is changing, especially the way Tracy Guns looked. So, yeah, just a cool time.
Yeah, Arsenio really produced at that era for every genre. And he really did a great job showcasing these guys, and I was pumped because I got some Arsenio on here, and he busted out some real random good stuff.
He did.
And as for LA Guns, dude, it was like that was the era where Tracy started to kind of lose it a little bit in terms of, like you're saying, like he could have been suicidal.
Yeah.
But it kind of threw me off because people weren't really doing that yet. Like, it wasn't until the early 90s, like almost mid-90s, they started chopping the hair. So maybe he was a trendsetter.
I think so. If you ask him, he'd tell you that he was.
Of course.
Number 9.
Okay, I got a guy that creeps into my lists once in a while.
Rock the cradle of love, yes, the cradle of love. Well, it's old talk and tease, so it's true. Well, rock the cradle of love.
and it's Billy Idol doing "Cradle of Love" at the 1991 Grammys.
Ooh.
With the host was Gary Shandling.
Gary Show, the opening theme to Gary Show. This is the music that you hear as you watch the credits.
That was kind of a, you got some funny combinations on here because you got a lot of these award shows that you got some stars at the time that are like, oh my gosh, this guy ran into Billy Idol. Anyway, so it was cool. It was like the final Billy really being like young and kind of using the 80s sexy thing that he had going for all that decade. And this kind of wrapped it up for him because the next album was Cyberpunk, I think it was called. And it was very, very 90s, very progressive. I don't know. Anyway, so, but what a cool performance. They basically reenacted the video where the young girl is trying to play her new Billy Idol tape in the other guy's system, and Billy opens the door and pulls her in, and then they launch into the song. And the band is cool. No Steve Stevens, though. That's the only bummer of this. I know, dude. That's the only bummer. But he had a great band and great look, and it was the end of the Billy just being ripping era. And so, see, he always sounds great live. He really doesn't waver whatsoever. So this album's got a big place in my heart. So I really, really like this song, and the performance was spot on.
Cool. All right, man. Well, for my number 9, this one I wouldn't say this is one of the best TV performances that I saw, but it's just such a great mix, man.
When the labels say take 2 for a game.
I got Motley Crue, 1998, doing Bitter Pill and Wild Side on Monday Night Raw, man. You got WWE and you got Motley Crue, so it's just, I just think it's funny. It's funny too because with Bitter Pill, nobody had heard it yet. I don't even think I had heard it yet. I think that was right before the album came out. I don't remember the timeline, but the crowd there did not know the song. But they were getting into it and everything. And once again, you got the piped in backgrounds. Wild Side, I don't remember that one being all that great either. I think we're starting hitting that era where Vince is skipping a lot of words and everything. But he's gotten bigger here, and his hair was kind of like brown, shoulder length and brownish or whatever. But it was just like I said, it was cool. I just remember, it was always like a big event when like especially for me, like if Motley Crue or Kiss or somebody was going to be on TV, like I knew about it and I was there with the VCR and taping it and watching it. So I just think it was just kind of like a cool pairing to see Crue, and it was cool too because Crue had just come off of Generation Swine, and here it is, they're just trying to kind of regain their footing as like being just like a regular, rock metal band or whatever. So, just a cool one.
Dude, so pumped you put this on here. This brings back such good memories because I missed the Crue in the heyday because of my age, but this is when I was fully obsessed and fully bought into the Crue. And I remember having my mom tape this for me, and I still have it. I still have the VHS, and I found it in doing this research on YouTube, and it was such a comforting throwback for me because I remember exactly where I was, cozied up in my parents' house watching this thing, and so pumped on that new song. And I really always liked that song Bitter Pill a lot. So
yeah.
I'm glad you put it on there, man. This is great.
Nice. And the funny thing too is the way, we both said it. Like I said, you tape it, and you was like, I had my mom tape it for me. And I don't know if you ever noticed, but I know we say that all the time still, even though there is no tape. It's like DVR or whatever. Yeah. I always say, oh, can you tape this? You know what I mean? It's funny how that we're just old. We're never going to get away from saying tape.
Oh, dude, I said it yesterday. The guys at the firehouse rented the UFC fight. And I go, oh, dude, we're going on a call. Can we tape this? And I was like, oh, my God.
There is no tape.
You got, 22-year-old firefighters that are like, what's he mean?
What is that? What's he talking about? Put a piece of tape on it? All right, man. How about number 8?
Okay, number 8, I got Vixen at Spring Break 1989, Daytona Beach, Florida.
Nice.
So,
yes, I remember this.
Like basically, if you said you're offering to take me back anywhere in time, this very well may be my choice.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, like I said, Florida, Spring Break, 89, a whole like 5 days of bands, different genres, different concerts, huge stage on the beach, so killer. Vixen was brand new, opening for the Scorpions. I really like this. I'm not a huge female fronted metal fan, but I really like Vixen, and they pulled it off well. They sound great live, and just the vibe is sweet. And there's one other thing we didn't talk about is some of the quality of videos we find out there is shit.
Yeah.
This happens to be like crystal clear, so it's really cool to watch. But it might be more so for the atmosphere that I put it on my list versus being Vixen and being the songs. But it was really a lot of atmosphere. But it's really cool, so I definitely check that one out.
Yeah, that's cool. I remember that. And when you said Vixen, I also think Vixen was on Arsenio at one point, too.
Oh, cool.
I'm pretty sure. I think around when Rev It Up came out. I'm pretty sure. But, it's all a blur. Like I said, any of these could be. I guess my tip for anybody who's interested in this kind of stuff is just put heavy metal bands Arsenio and see what comes up.
Yes.
You might find something that we didn't even know about.
Oh, yeah.
All right, speaking of crappy clips, it's a good performance, but I can only find like a shitty quality of it. So on my number 8 is Slaughter. Also on Arsenio, 1990. I think they sound so good. They do Mad About You, and they do Fly to the Angels. And it's just, Mark's voice is just so killer here. And to hear him do it live, and I don't think they use any kind of tracks, because the guys do a really bang-up job on like the backgrounds and everything. So, yeah. And I just think, once again, it's that stage performance, and the lighting is really cool. And I'll do what do we say, like an 8.1, like you do. They were on again for the Wildlife. They do the Wildlife, and they do Real Love, and those are really good too. So, like I said, just check out Slaughter on Arsenio. I think both of those performances from 90 and 92 are really, really good.
Yeah, I shall hold off on my comments on that one.
All right, what do you got?
But really, here's a great band. Poison!
Rock it and roll. Hit it, CC!
I got number 7. I got Poison, New Year's Eve, 87 into 88 from,
yes!
I think, MTV.
Yes, I know this one. They do Rock and Roll All Night and Talk Dirty to Me, right?
That's right, exactly. Yep. I'm not sure if you remember, but the introduction was made by Glenn Frey. So
yes, I do, yes. I watched this not that long ago.
Good, yeah. It's another one of those like odd couples. You got Gary Shandling, you got Glenn Frey. I mean, I love the Eagles. Glenn Frey's killer, but I wouldn't think that he and Bret Michaels would be getting on. But anyway, I think it's pretty cool. So, but I chose this because they still have the wow factor, the real cool, youthful, energetic era for these guys.
Yeah.
They're a little bit in like the purple fluffy phase with the long scarves and that kind of thing versus like the sex appeal that Bret brought on by showing off more of his physique and whatnot in the next 2 albums and tours. But I mean, they're flying around the stage just like they came out of a club. They were arena guys at that point, opening for Rat and whatnot. But it wasn't long ago that they'd be at Gazzari's or something like that. So they still had the club stage down, the stage show down, but they sounded great, and that was cool. They did, like you said, Rock and Roll All Night, and they opened with, they played 2 songs, Talk Dirty to Me, and they sound really cool. Like, I could tell that the chorus was piped in,
Yep.
but Brett
Yep.
was still singing it on top of it, and then when he'd come off of the gang vocals and say "talk dirty to me" at the end, you could tell that it was much different than the gang vocal part. But hey, they still sounded good. CC was shredding. I mean, he played. I was watching his guitar solo, and I've always really liked that solo, and he did a bang up job. It was absolute perfection. So I doubt he was faking that, but yeah, I thought it was a really cool performance.
Yep. That is a cool one, and strangely enough, my number 7 is also Poison from 1987, but it's from the Joan Rivers show.
Oh, wow.
And they do Talk Dirty to Me and I Want Action. And what's cool about this is they look exactly the way they looked, at least to me, from the Talk Dirty to Me video. Like, I feel like that they were right in that mode. It's like right around when those videos came out. They look exactly like that. And it's actually pretty cool. They're blowing up shit. There's bombs. They've got the speakers that have the 4 faces over top of them, like from the album cover. It's really cool. The only thing I'll give this performance is I do think they sound kind of like raw and sloppy, but it's still cool. Very energetic. But I would say, like, I think Poison, I've always said this on the podcast, is Poison definitely got better as musicians as time went on. So I think they're a little sloppy, but it works. And actually, the coolest stuff, the funniest stuff. Well, first of all, Joan Rivers interviews him after. You know what I mean? And it's so funny. And you know how they were really like high energy even when they talked. When you go back and watch old Poison, they talk fast. They're laughing all the time. It's real high energy. And the funny thing, too, is the guest prior to Poison, I think, was Robert Guillaume. I don't know if you remember him, but he's like on the end of the couch, like the old. That was the thing, and maybe they still do that on late night TV. I don't watch, but whoever they were talking to first kind of hangs out for the whole show. So Robert Guillaume was sitting at the end of the couch, and the Poison guys are just joking around, acting like goofs, and the crowd is just going nuts, like they're trying to talk, and there's girls screaming "CC," and all this kind of stuff. So. I think that is actually almost as fun as the performance. But yeah, go back and search that one, man. Joan Rivers, Late Night, 1987. Yeah.
Yeah, I want to revisit that because I remember seeing I Want Action. That was the other one they did, right?
Yep.
But I would love to revisit the Joan Rivers interview portion of it because she's just such a character that I bet she could hang with anybody. She was great.
Yep. Okay, number 6.
All right, I'm going to the Rick Dees show. You got any from that?
A lot of Rick Dees out there.
Dude, there are so many. This was like such a kind of a white trash, like B-rated talk show, but dude, he kind of delivered. Like there was a lot of them, but got House of Lords on there from my favorite album of theirs, Sahara.
I was wondering. There's 2 big ones from Rick Dees that I'm like, they better be on your list. So you got this one. All right, see if you get the other one.
Yep, I did not put Steelheart.
Whoa, what?
I didn't do it.
No.
I'll tell you what edged it. It was the dumb interview.
Okay.
I didn't care for the dumb interview.
Okay.
Tell him the performances were equal. I think they were pretty good, both of them. But it's odd too because when Mikey sings "I'll Never Let You Go," it's always out of key live, even back in the day. But and so it kind of trips me out. But then he hits every high note, so you got to hand him that. Like he kills it on every of those high notes. But I think House of Lords was a little more consistent in their performance.
Okay.
And the interview didn't piss me off as much.
And no, is this the one that I sent you before? Like Gene Simmons pops in there at some point? Is that the same one?
That's it.
Okay. I've watched
this. That's the one. And yeah, Gene's in the crowd, and Rick Dees is begging him to send his tongue out, and they didn't do it, so they put a fake tongue in front of the camera. Anyway, it was very trashy, but I loved it, of course. So they did 2 good songs. They did "Can't Find My Way Home" and "Chains of Love," which is like just a perfect song. Doug Aldrich is in the band at that point, so that was kind of cool.
Nice.
James Christian is just solid. He's just got such a good voice. So anyway, check out Rick Dees. He's got a lot to deliver, just like Arsenio.
Nice. He does have quite a few. I don't know if there are any from his show on my list, but there's some honorables. There were some. Okay.
Yeah.
So now my number 6, I don't think I ever saw this back in the day, but once I discovered it on YouTube, I was just like floored. I was like, this is so good.
Winger!
So number 6, I got Winger, 1989, Arsenio Hall, and they do Hungry and they do Headed for a Heartbreak, and they just sound so good. Like, it's back to that sound. And the other cool thing that always happens on Arsenio, I think it's on every performance, there's some weird door that covers the band, and then it rises and the band's there. You know what I'm talking about? Like, that's, I don't know. It's just, that has like a vibe, it's cool. But, Winger sounded really good. The only thing that just kind of drives me crazy sometimes, which probably drives a lot of people crazy, is like Kip's got when Kip has the little microphone thing hooked to his ear, that gives him the freedom to kind of like get a little crazy with the spins and the holding his bass up and not playing and stuff. So, like, yeah, it is what it is. But the sound quality, I mean, they're just, between all the background vocals and Kip's vocals and the keyboards and the drum, I mean, everything is just so spot on. It just showcases what a talented band they are. And it goes back to how well the sound is done on Arsenio Hall. Winger, maybe you've got him on your list, don't want to steal your thunder. They played a couple different shows on MTV as well. And they're good. I think they did a New Year's Eve, and they did some other talks. They did a couple different shows on MTV, but they don't sound as good as they did on Arsenio. And it's not to do with their talent. It's that production. Whoever produced did the sound mixing and everything on Arsenio, man, I'm telling you, it's a gold standard. It's awesome. So yeah, go back and watch that one. Every time I watch it, though, whatever one I find, it always has like all this Japanese writing, somebody from Japan or something. There's like Japanese writing across the screen or something, but it's a great performance.
Yeah. So you said they did Hungry and 17, or
Headed for a Heartbreak. So this must have been
that's right.
the end of the album run. Yeah, this was the end of the album run.
I have Winger on my list coming up. It's not this, and I actually chose the other one because I prefer you have to choose songs that are neither one of these.
Yeah.
And I've always liked Hungry, but I thought it was kind of an odd choice, to be honest. Maybe it was a single at the moment.
It was.
When they played
that was
show.
the last.
Okay.
That was the last single of the album run. Yep.
Got it. Yeah. So that was probably it. But I obviously love that performance as well. So, but I have a different one of theirs coming up shortly.
Okay. Well, what's your number 5?
Number 5, this is where I have Slaughter doing Arsenio.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, same thing. And spoiler alert, I wanted to put a Warrant video clip on this list, but I didn't, and I'll tell you why. It's because I compared these two, and it was just like you said. Slaughter absolutely destroyed live, both songs, and I didn't think Warrant performed on Arsenio very well at all. I don't know why. I mean, Janie's my guy, and I just thought that he was slacking a little bit, so I chose Slaughter of the Arsenio list over them. But I thought the same thing, dude. Nailed it. Both songs are super cool. I love Mad About You. It's definitely my favorite song on that album. Mm-hmm. And I thought they did a cool variation of Flight of the Angels because it was different. They kind of shortened it up, I think, for TV and did a lot of different stuff towards the end of the song. But it really showcased Mark's vocals. And I was thinking about what Vinnie Vincent was thinking when he saw these guys on Arsenio, like 2 years after they had released All Systems Go, and he's going, "Damn it! Like, these guys
I never got on Arsenio." Yeah. And it's funny you mentioned the Warrant, and maybe we'll just get into that maybe a little bit more in the honorable mentions. But I also wanted to pick a few different Warrant ones. But yeah, they did a lot of the TV performances. They didn't sound that great, so I kind of passed on. Yeah, don't know why. All right, number 5. This is inevitable for me. And Brittany Fox, 1988, MTV, Mouth to Mouth. They do Girl School. They do Long Way to Love. They sound great. They look cool. They're still doing all their regalia, their glammy stuff from the first album. And the craziest, beyond the performance, you got to go back and watch this, man. It's Dean Davidson is doing these wacky splits. I don't know how he's doing them. He's dropping all the way down doing splits. I don't know how he didn't bust a nut or rip his pants or something, but he does these crazy splits, and he's right back up to sing right after. So
I know.
So cool. It's just, like I said, the whole band's on fire. They sound great. You know they're not piping in any fake shit. It's all live. And, yeah, man, Brittany Fox from MTV. It's great.
That's a good one. This came up between you and I some other, like, within the year, and we were talking about Brittany, or I can't remember why, but I had watched this again, and dude, what a good performance. I actually totally forgot and missed it completely. It's not even on my honorables, so it'll be on my honorable mention at this point, because that would be cheating. But totally great performance. I thought they sounded spot on, and I was tripping that he was able to pop up on that Jean-Claude Van Damme splits as well. It was very talented. He didn't miss a beat. That was great.
Not at all, man. All right. Number 4.
Number 4, this is where I have Bon Jovi, 1989, MTV Music Awards doing the acoustic thing. And as much as I don't want to compliment Jovi these days, just because I'm not always feeling them, this was huge. This was huge for the genre.
Yep.
This was not only a great performance and really showing off both of their amazing voices and their guitar work. From what I understand, it really kicked off MTV Unplugged series.
Yep.
I think it was kind of the brainchild. So yeah, but I actually am in the minority probably, and I prefer Richie Sambora's vocals over John Bon Jovi's. Mm-hmm. But I mean, both of them sounded killer, and this was John was peaking still here. So, but I mean, it was kind of sad because I'm thinking like, if John Bon Jovi tried this now, I mean, he kind of sounds like. It sounds like he's got a sinus infection and he's got a mouthful of peanut butter, and he's trying to sing. That's just kind of how he is these days. But Bon Jovi '89 was really hard to knock. So these guys were really on point on this performance. I'm
so glad you put this on here. I wrestled with this one. I think it's one of those ones where I know its importance, but it's not one that I watch very often. So I'm glad you put it on there. But yeah, very key to the whole MTV Unplugged thing, and yeah, so spot on. Yeah, it's cool when he kind of hands the reins over to Richie and he does lead for a minute, and then obviously he does a lot of the background. And dude, that guy's voice is just a powerhouse. So really, really cool combo. My number 4. I've always liked this performance. I remember watching this on New Year's Eve 1990, and it's Cinderella doing Shelter Me and Coming Home, and I just think that they sound so good. They've got the background singers in there to do Shelter Me with them. And like I said, I think Gary Corbett's on keyboards. They got a saxophone player. So they've got all the elements there so they can do Shelter Me some justice live. And it's just a great performance. Like I said, I remember it plain as day watching it when it came out. The only thing that drives me crazy, and something about this, once we got to the 90s, Tom Kiefer liked to say stuff weird. And when he says coming home, he says chumming home. And when he says chumming home, I want to slap him across his face. I'm chumming home. Come on. No, I'm coming home. I'm not chumming home. So that's the only thing that drives me crazy. And there's some other live performances where he does do those kind of things. So I don't know what it is. I don't know if he's trying to copy some kind of old blues guy or something. I don't know what he's doing. Maybe he's just trying to be different. Maybe he's got a speech thing going on. I don't know. But other than that, though, a great performance. If that kind of stuff bugs you, listen to the Y&T song "Mean Street." Have you ever noticed? Mean Street.
Apparently, there's not a K at the end of that. It's a CH. Mean Street. So check that one out.
Oh, boy.
I didn't even see this, and I just that album for me. I don't even know if I would have even bothered because that album and that song. Like when you had said saxophone, and I don't know, man. The album's never done it for me, so I probably avoided it. But I do like Coming Home, so I probably should give it a watch.
Yeah, go give that one a watch. All right, number 3.
Okay, here's where I have Winger doing the MTV Big Bang New Year's Eve 1989.
Yep, I remember that.
Yeah,
I remember watching
Yeah,
that.
and this is the one I chose, this one, over Arsenio because of the song choices. They did Madeleine in 17, and talk about blowing people out of the water. This band was just firing on all cylinders at this point, and they just delivered. Reb's backup vocals and his shredding guitar was so impressive. And Kip looked amazing as usual, and he sounded killer. And they made this 4-piece band sound like they were an 8-piece band. They're huge, and no wonder they're virtuosos, and everybody loves using them for studio work and stuff. But the energy of this was great. And when Kip opens with the yeah of Madeleine at the beginning, it was like, oh my god! I bet the crowd was like, what am I hearing? This is killer, dude. So yeah, really cool choice.
Yep, I like that one too, and I do believe that was another one I remember actually watching it when it was on TV. It was great stuff.
Oh, cool.
Okay, this one it's epic on so many levels. I don't know if you've watched it or if you have any feelings on it, but I've got a lot to say about it. So,
Stand for what you believe. All right. Ooh, you gotta listen, man. Express yourself.
number 3, man. I gotta go with Poison, and I gotta go with Stand from 1993. It's Arsenio. So I'm gonna run through all the things. Well, first of all, let's just talk about the music. They sound great. Like they've got a whole choir, like some kind of choir from I don't know if it's a Los Angeles choir, but they're singing with these guys, and it sounds so full. The band sounds so tight. There's even a part where like Bobby Dahl's playing acoustic and Richie's playing a little mandolin or something like that. So they're spot on with their musicianship. But here's some of the interesting things that happened during this. So at one point, when it starts, Arsenio goes, from the album Flesh and Blood, here's Poison. So he says the wrong album. They were there for Flesh and Blood a couple years earlier. They did, him and CC did Something to Believe in acoustic on Arsenio. So they've been on Arsenio a few different times, but he screws up the album. So there's number 1. So then the next thing that's kind of interesting is that Brett, as the guy we talked about who was just talking about partying and getting laid and all that stuff, back in 87, he starts off with a spiel. Not that there's anything wrong with this, but he's talking kind of like an anti-racism spiel and saying how we've got the black singers with us, and we're all about inclusion of everyone, which is cool. It was just kind of like a real big contrast from just a few years of just being really superficial and goofy, and now they're being serious. So that was another thing that kind of stood out in my mind. But other than that, man, it's a really good performance, and But I think it sounds better live than it might even sound on the album. So, but there's just a few things. But I always thought Arsenio botching the album. They must be thinking like, you son of a bitch, this is our only promotion we're gonna get for this album, and you just boned it.
I know. Damn. That's a good one. I remember seeing it years ago. I saw that it was on the suggested on YouTube when I was doing the research for this, and I didn't watch it this time around because I'm still getting used to that album. Yeah. Even, years later. But I might go back and watch it because I actually have always cared for this song. I really do think it's pretty cool. And I want to see Richie do his thing. So I'll check it out again.
It's wicked good. Like I said, real solid. And it just shows you how, like I've preached it a million times, how far they came as musicians. You know what I mean? As once they got to that point. So, yeah, great stuff.
Cool.
All right, number 2.
Woman got me looking alive. Wanna cut me down the side. Show me what you're gonna do.
I got Vince Neil MTV Awards 1992.
Oh, I forgot about this. Damn it. Good for you. This is great.
Yeah, this is a really cool one. So you kind of touched on something earlier I'll get to, but really good performance, and I've always loved this song. It's, as we talk about the quote-unquote hits as we get older, we've heard them so many times, kind of turn them off, gravitate towards album tracks, but I never turn this song off. I've always really liked this song. But Vince struck first, post-Crew. This is a killer song off Encino Man, and the soundtrack, and the great solo record that we both really like. And the band was killer, top-notch guys, Steve Stevens, all the Mick Fox and Robbie Crane, all these guys. So it was really cool. But one thing I noticed is, when a song's like too new to screw it up? It's like he hadn't sat with it long enough to like start skipping words and singing things out of key and missing lyrics. Like he had to sing it like the album, so he did just that, and it was great. They did the cool part that I prefer on the music video, where they post solo they sing the chorus, and then the music stops for the wow that part, and then they launch back into You're Invited But Your Friend Can't Come. And they did that live, which was killer, but they didn't do it on the album, which I always didn't like. But anyway, so this is kind of Vince's last hurrah too before he got a little bit bigger, let's just say. Yep. And so it's a killer era for the guy, and he was feeling himself. I loved it. So that's why it's number 2.
Yeah, there's one thing that's always stood out from that performance is he's not wearing any shoes.
I know. That kind of bugs me.
It's kind of weird. But I remember watching this when it came out. I remember going to see, if you want to talk about something, how old I am or what I can remember, I remember going to see Encino Man at the drive-in with my friends. And I remember the song being in Encino Man. And I think, well, even at that time, I was thinking to myself, how does Vince have a song in a movie right now? Because, like, it's kind of over. Even then, I was thinking, like, it's kind of over, man. How's this dude got a big song in a movie? And but I remember watching that right when it came out and thinking, yeah, man, he kicked ass. He struck first, and he did a great job. And you know what's funny? You talk about him, kind of having it together, but like, when you read the dirt, it sounded like he wasn't together at that time. So, like, when I read about the album, them making Exposed, he said he was really messed up and doing a lot of partying. So how he sounds so great and came up with great songs and how he put on a great performance, I don't know. But yeah, it's a great era. And, right, he kind of fell off a little bit after this for a lot of different reasons. But yeah, no, I love that. I'm glad. I totally see. There's always. I knew this. I knew there was going to be something I forgot, and that's when I forgot.
You ever notice if you ever look up live footage of Vince's Exposed tour, he played like 2 songs from Exposed, even when it was a brand new album.
Wow.
Like nowadays he tours solo and he plays like maybe one Vince Neil solo song, all Motley. Yeah. He even did that then. It was mostly maybe Motley. This song and like Set Me Free or something like that, or and that was it. It was just like a Motley cover band the whole time. Whatever.
Yeah, it's gotta go with what sells.
Triple platinum, Gorgeous Wives, Race Cars, #1 album, Dr. Feelgood. Yes. Performing live, one of the hottest hard rock bands in this particular galaxy. Ladies and gentlemen, Motley Crue!
Well, number 2 is where I put Crew, Don't Go Away Mad. And, saw this as a kid, watching the award show, and kind of some of the things that you touched on, they looked pretty cool. This is Vince at the top of his game, before kind of the band, splits and all this kind of stuff. And yeah, they were, they're at the commercial height. Everybody in the crowd was digging him. You could even see some of these stuffy people were still dancing around to this song.
I know. That was funny.
It just, as much as I sometimes say I don't care for the Dr. Feelgood album as a whole, I do look at it as like a really important time for the band. And, and there was a lot of cool things happening for them at that moment. So yeah, I always look back at that clip pretty fondly, and I probably watch it every year at least one time, just because it just reminds me of the old days and the fun times and the band at their peak. So yeah, it's a great performance. And who announces them? Arsenio, Motley Crue.
Oh, that's right. Yeah.
So it all comes back to everything. He was always, and what's so funny to think how big that guy was for that period. He would host the MTV Awards. His show was huge. He had go back. If you just want to get a kick out of just pop culture, man, watch some of these best of Arsenio. He had Jason Voorhees on there one time. I don't know if you've ever seen that. Jason Voorhees, he interviews him, but Jason doesn't speak. He had like Macho Man Savage, the Ultimate Warrior. I mean, it's just, you go through this shit, it's crazy. So much cool pop culture, and it's great to see our hair metal buddies on there too. So, all right, man. Enough about Arsenio. What's number one? Who's the number one band?
Okay, so this is the oldest clip I have on here, and it's dating back to 1987. And it's Whitesnake at the MTV Awards, absolutely killing it to Still of the Night.
Yes, that is a cool performance. Yep.
Just pure power, peaking. They chose an epic, long Led Zeppelin-esque song for MTV Awards, just a scorcher, showing off every member's skills, and that was a ballsy move. It was a long song with a long breakdown, and they still said, "Yeah, we're going to play it. It's an epic," and it certainly worked. And this is one of the also one of the things I noticed in going back to these. It was always killer to see the metal dudes just blowing fans and fellow musicians out of the water when it came to others observing. Like you said, like the yuppies in the crowd, the other movie stars in the crowd or whatnot, other genres that are watching from the wings. They're just like, holy shit, like, look at these metal dudes work the crowd and play their instruments and sing the way they sing. And people's jaws were just dropped. It looked like it was just epic. And they dominated the stage. Coverdale was on point, and you could tell every second of it was live. It sounds very similar to the album, but when you're an expert like you and I, you could tell that the little variations were there just slightly, and you're like, shit, this is live. So, but it was in a good way. Like, you could tell that it was live, and it was just, dude, it was perfect for the era. Great band. And like I said, we always talk about 87 and Slip of the Tongue.
Yep.
But, dude, what a cool genre era for these guys. And Coverdale couldn't have worked the crowd better. It was just every classic Coverdale move. And, dude, just awesome.
That is a great one, and it's funny you say that because I always, and I'm going to go back and watch this one because I was always questioning I knew that Coverdale was live, but I questioned if the background music was piped in. I didn't, because they're that good. Maybe you're onto something there. But the way they looked was cool, and I always I think there's a bunch of rocks or something on the stage. Am I right?
Yes, yep, that's right.
And I think that was another cool thing about those performances is sometimes there was a really cool, weird stage thing going on, and that's one of those. So no, that's a great one.
I could see the bow that you'd use for like a cello, that part in the breakdown. I could see that being maybe not accurate and maybe not live. You know what I mean? I'm not a guitar player, so I don't know, but it sounded perfect. But I don't know. I think you're onto something there. Yeah,
for sure. All right. My number one, man. I just said enough about Arsenio, but I'm ending with an Arsenio. This one for me is the top dog. I definitely stayed up to watch this one. '93, Kiss, Alive 3. They do Detroit Rock City and they do Deuce. And, this is them in their revenge era. They're kind of their heaviest in a long time. They look cool. They kind of got rid of all the weird glammy stuff, and they're wearing black leather again. So it's really cool. The interview stuff's pretty cool too. It's mostly Gene and Paul that you hear from, as usual, is what you would expect. But it's a pretty cool interview, and the performances are great. And then one other thing I wanted to mention, I forgot to mention this before, is that what Arsenio would do sometimes, and some other shows would do this too. Sometimes they would show the clip in black and white. So it's weird. They do Detroit Rock City and it's in color, and then they do Deuce and it's in black and white, and it's kind of cool because it kind of, once again, because Deuce is one of their, actually off their debut album, so it kind of like makes you feel like you're going back in time or something like that. So well done. That's my favorite band. Kind of like at a really cool era. They sound great, and they had a nice little interview section as well. So that's my number one.
That's cool. Yeah, this is my choice era. Besides the mid '80s lace stuff, I really like this look and this era for that band. So yeah, cool choice. You gotta finish up with Arsenio.
Of course, man. So what do you got for? So what I did, I put some of the heavier artists on my honorables, and they got a couple that didn't make it. So why don't you go first, man? Give me some of the ones that you were struggling with that you wanted to put on here.
Sure, yeah. So in that Rick Dees show, we already touched on it. Steelheart, LA Guns, Vixen, Warrant, Nelson was actually really good.
Nelson was very good on Rick Dees. Yeah, After the Rain.
Yeah,
great. Yep.
The Quiet Riot reunion in like 90 or 91, whatever that was. They did a couple songs, and they were killer. They looked really good.
Yeah, but you know what, though? I wrote that one down, and I wrote that as a horrible Quiet Riot performance on Rick Dees, and the reason why is the drummer. The drummer sucks. I don't know who this is. It's not Frankie Banali. He was like playing with Wasp or something at that point. But the guy cannot play in time. I don't know if there was a sound issue he couldn't hear, but dude, this guy is plotting and he's playing it off time. It sounds like his drumming sounds like shit. I know what you're saying. They look cool, and overall, it's not a bad performance besides the drums. But I'm like, who is this scab? He sucks. Get Frankie back in there.
I have to notice that.
Go back and watch it. You'll know what I'm talking about. You'll be like, whoa. Like, it just sounds like too slow at times. And then the tempo changes. It's just, I don't know. Whoever this is probably is going to watch this video and comment about it. Whoever that guy is. I'm sorry. You did not do a good job on that show.
Totally. They also, Rick Dees also had just a couple more. He had Alias, pretty good performance, and a band called Giant that I really like. Nice. And they actually did that. Those are really tough songs to sing and did a good job. But we couldn't go like real big into like, you know, movie appearances and pay-per-view and whatnot in the list. But do you remember White Lion in the movie The Money Pit?
No, I think I read something about that recently that they were in it. No, I don't remember them being in The Money Pit.
You got to check it out.
Oh, wait a minute. Actually, I do. I think I did go back and watch it. What year was it?
So that's that Tom Hanks movie. It was like 85 or 6.
Yeah, they're real mellowed out looking, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, I did watch that. Yes, I know what you're talking about. Yes.
Yeah, so that's a cool one. Check it out at the end of the movie. And then AC/DC did the Grammys in 2015. They played their new song, and they played Highway to Hell. I got Skid Row and Saturday Night Live doing Monkey Business, which I almost put. That's a pretty good one. And then it's funny, I was going to mention, we didn't choose any of the Unplugged stuff.
Yeah, because that's kind of we'll save. That's another podcast.
I see. Okay, I got it. Yeah, there's a lot, so that was good. Def Leppard did MTV Awards in '89, and they played a new song for them. Which
I remember that.
Crazy. It was that song "Tear It Down," which is a good song. Yep. And then you know what I didn't put on there was the infamous pink-haired CC DeVille.
I've got that on my honorables. Yeah, we need to talk about that. So what do you got to say?
Oh, dude, I didn't put it just because it was so bad. Like, I'll never forget Brett saying, like, it ain't pretty, but it's rock and roll or whatever. You know what I mean?
But here's the thing. If you people
to watch.
Yeah, they've blown this. So this potentially is how the band ended, right? They got in a fight after. But here's like a lot of rock sites in the past couple of years have run stories about this, and I want to try to debunk this because I think I can. So what they're trying to say is that they were supposed to play Unskinny Bop, and CC didn't want to play that. So then they bust into Talk Dirty to Me, like impromptu, right? Okay, I don't buy that for a second. Okay, because this is what I think happened. This is what I've researched this, watched it, read about it. What I think happened, okay, when they go to commercial and the band wants to kind of warm up and kind of get ready to go, they play something. So when they were at commercial, Poison plays Unskinny Bop. The problem is they cut back to commercial too soon, and they were in the middle of doing Unskinny Bop.
Unskinny Bop. All night and day, sing it. Sing it,
Well, actually, they need no introduction, right? I'll give them one anyway.
So then what happens is they just everything kind of gets thrown off and everything's a little awkward for a second. Then they do when I hear the music, they do that intro to Let It Play.
Oh, yeah.
And then they go into Talk Dirty to Me. I firmly believe that Talk Dirty to Me was what they were meant to play. Unskinny Bop was just them goofing around during a commercial break, kind of getting the sound and everything going. That's my theory. So I don't think I don't think anything was going on with that. There's no way, let's face it, you're not just going to bust out Talk Dirty to Me and the band's all going to go along with you. I don't buy that. So granted, he was shit-faced, and I'm sure they fought, and I'm sure that's what broke up the band, but I firmly believe that he was not the one calling the shots with what they were playing. I think they came back early from a commercial break. They did that with Metallica as well. If you watch Metallica on the Music Awards, they were playing some song, a different song, and then they come back a little too early, and you could hear them playing a second of it, and then they bust into Enter Sandman. So that kind of shit happens. So don't believe those theories about the Unskinny Bop thing. So
yeah, you see, this is all the more reason you need a member of Poison on the podcast.
That's right.
Clear this shit up.
Let's clear it up.
I just got two more. It was Foreigner on Arsenio. That was kind of killer because it was with what's his name? The other singer.
Wait a minute, who?
Foreigner.
Oh, yeah, when they had the other singer. Yep, I know what you're talking about. That was a good one.
Wow, I kicked myself for not remembering his name because Johnny, I can't remember. But, yeah, he was killer. It was a good song. And then Lou Gramm also was on Arsenio doing his solo album, which I really like. It's much more poppy, but, again, just like you're saying about the production, dude, he was spot on. So, anyway, that's it for me.
Always good. I wanted to put Warrant on a couple different times. I think Warrant also did that Mouth to Mouth or The Big Show or something on MTV. They did Down Boys and Heaven, but they sounded like crap. Like I don't know if it was really them. I think it was the sound. It was just the sound. Sound man just didn't have it together, so they didn't sound that great. Then they did Uncle Tom's Cabin and I Saw Red on Rick Dees. The performance is actually good, but the sound quality is horrible. And what's weird, it's like the vocals sound really good, but the music sounds like it's coming through a boombox or something. Like it's so bad. Yeah. So I think Rick Dees just didn't have good sound quality. Striper's on there, Rick Dees, but you and I were kind of texting about this. I would put that, but it's completely lip synced and air banded. You know what I mean? They're miming. They're not playing. They do Shining Star and they do Lady. And what's just weird is every other band that was ever on Rick Dees always played. So why didn't they? I don't know. I should have asked Michael Sweet that, but no, I don't know if he'll ever come back on. Another thing of Warrant is if you notice they were pushing real hard in 91 to push the Blind Faith song, the single.
Yes.
They were on Arsenio, they were on MTV, they were on Rick Dees, and they all played Blind Faith. And I think Blind Faith sounds actually pretty good. But it was just one of those ones where like that single bombed and it was kind of over for that album's run. But they tried. They tried to do that kind of unplugged thing on a couple different shows. So for my heavier ones, I got Manowar doing Gloves of Metal, 1983, and they're on Nickelodeon, and it's so insane.
No way.
Oh yes, they're wearing like the furs and the spikes. And then they play like this real crazy performance of Gloves of Metal. And then they talk to like all these dorky kids, and then they're all like Joey DeMaio's talking. And he's so chill, you know what I mean? Here he is, this metal guy, and he's it's like a Gene Simmons type of a thing, you know what I mean? Just like kind of like a really intelligent guy or whatever. But anyways, then we've got Megadeth doing Hangar 18, and that's another one that's pretty good. That's on Arsenio. Once again, just really cool to see like a thrash band on late night TV. That was in 1990. Anthrax on Arsenio doing Only, and then doing Got the Time, also from that's from 93. We mentioned the horrible Quiet Riot performance. At least I consider it horrible. Motley did a lot of Afraid on a couple different shows, and I really like when they did it on Jay Leno because it starts off like color and then it goes black and white. But the coolest thing is they do an interview. You got to watch the interview at the end, and he goes, "So this is talking about Generation Swine." He's like, "This is like the first album you guys done in a long time, right?" They're like, "Oh yeah, 7 years." Totally blew off the 94 album like it didn't exist.
Oh, yeah.
And then and he's like, "Hey, is it good to have Vince back?" And they're all kind of like, "Yeah." So it's just that one. It's very telling. I also did Skid Row, and now this Saturday Night Live. Now here's the thing about Skid Row. This clip is like taboo. You can't find it.
Dude, I know.
It's like,
I know.
If I think there's one of Piece of Me, but like it's like an altered because of a copyright or something like that. So it's like, I don't remember. It's like sideways or it's weird. So there's some weird stuff going on with that with Monkey Business and Piece of Me. I don't know if there's a copyright thing and these clips are like buried somewhere, but you can't find the original clips of these anywhere.
I know, it's so weird.
And then my last one is I had to go with this one. It's a real rare one from Australia, and it's Kiss 2003. They're back with Peter Criss, but then they've got Tommy Thayer. It's kind of like a weird lineup, like a hybrid lineup, and they're in makeup and they're playing with an orchestra, and they do Sure Know Something kind of unplugged with the orchestra. It's really, really good. Like the sound quality is so good. It's a great performance. And to your point, I think you were looking for the band Europe doing some live stuff. They did a lot of lip sync stuff, like you said, but I do believe if you go back to some of those shows, you can find them doing like Halfway to Heaven acoustic with the full band. So that's out there. I think most of the time you're right. They're doing lip sync performances, but I think they did a little run with like European TV shows doing Halfway to Heaven. So that's what I got.
You know what? One that neither of us mentioned, it came to me when you were talking about Manowar from '83 was, have you ever seen, there's like some random game show during the Shout at the Devil era?
Twisted Sister, I think. Yeah.
Okay, yeah, it was Motley doing, like someone won the game show and they said you get a performance by Motley Crue. Yeah. And they open the stage one across and it's them in their full shout regalia, and they're doing Looks to Kill, I think.
Yeah, and I think they do Livewire too.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah, and it kind of came to me when you said something about Manowar, because I didn't really go back that far. You know, like you said, the latest I went back, or the earliest was '87. But yeah, I'm surprised neither of us put it on there, but that's definitely lip sync.
Yeah, so that's completely lip sync. Now, if you go back and you watch like a lot of the Top of the Pops, I think it is. That one is cool. Always the music is the tape, and then the vocals are live. And there's actually a couple cool ones. There's one with Kiss doing Crazy Nights, and it actually Paul sounds great. It's really live, but the backing track is not. And then you gotta go back and watch Wasp doing Chainsaw Charlie from like '92. So the background is piped in, you know, that he's singing to a tape, but his voice is shot, right? And and there's times where he can't. He's like giving up, and he's just letting the background do the chorus. he's kind of just like whispering it. So you know. Oh, everybody has an off moment, but he looks cool. The band looks cool. It's like him and a bunch of scabs, but they look cool. And there's a couple different other Wasp ones too. I think, didn't you send me one where they lip sync "Scream Until You Like It"? So there's a lot of cool stuff out there. Yeah. So like I said, we could go all day about the lip sync ones because there's tons of those. But to find those high quality live performances that actually sound good, you know what I mean? Like I said, I think we made it. We narrowed it down pretty good to 10. So yeah, it's good.
Awesome.
Cool, man. Well, I hope that people enjoy this. I hope they kind of tag us maybe on some other stuff that we forgot, or maybe somebody's going to just get inspired and go down the Rick D's Arsenio Hall wormhole.
Totally, dude. Trip down memory lane for a lot of people.
All right, man. Have a good one.
All right, you too. Take care.
Talk to you later. Bye.
Well, that was great revisiting all those old TV performances. Make sure you go on YouTube and search for some of your own and relive the magic. Rock on!